How I'm loving life these days.
The all-new Hyundai Kona. Seriously fun.
We head to the birthplace of Formula Racing. Not that we're racing Formula cars, it's the fact that we are heading to a place which is so special when it comes to the motoring world. It doesn't need fancy tricks or gimmicks. It doesn't need even elevation change to make it so good. It's, of course, an old airfield that has been changed and changed and changed into the layout which it's held for over a decade now at this point. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your ACER Malta GT3 Championship, which is here with us and Velocity Esports Racing. We are two very blinking commentators here, one Jake Sperry and one Adam Reed, along with us for the ride. And Adam, after Adrian Manduca was able to pull together a victory through strategy in terms of the way that he needed everything to work out, we now look from going from a very, I would say, enclosed circuit in the style of what we had at Zolder last time out last week to here, Silverstone, a much wider, much more battled affair. it seems that we don't have Adam here on the microphone at this moment in time. Hopefully we will be able to get to him in just a moment with our series brought to you, of course, with GamingMalta and in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and with JACAP as well. Adam, we are looking forward to some great racing.
Can you hear me this time?
This time we can.
Absolutely. So, like I said, it's going to be a very, very interesting second round of the championship. Of course, Silverstone is an absolutely mighty circuit. So many iconic corners, and even in a GT3 car, they're going to be absolutely amazing. Of course, very well known for the British GT Championship, where they host their only 3-hour race in that championship. So, of course, we're not quite going to be hitting those 3 hours. Of course, 45 minutes is what we're going to have on the clock. And there is your results from the last time around. Adrian Manduka and Sheldon Muscat having an absolutely titanic battle between those two drivers. And with Aaron De Baptista taking the podium points with Andrea Galea also in P4 and Samuel Mifsford in P5. There's been so much competitiveness as we saw last time out in Zandvoort. We were a little bit suspicious on how it will kind of pan out, but it honestly, Jake, it panned out absolutely beautifully.
It did, and Adrian Manduka, of course, moves to a 6-point championship lead with that victory onto 30 points. You got Sheldon Muscat on 24 and Aaron De Baptista on 19. Galea back there on 16 points out there, and then 14 for Samuel Mifsud, and then 1-point increment all the way down. Gat, of course, being a non-finisher to the race, does not get any championship points down there, so a 0 on the board there. But that's how they battled out of what they have. That is the standings then as they go through after Zolder. And I think what was very, very telling about Zolder was how the drivers reacted coming out of it. And believe it or not, both Adrian Manduka and Sheldon Muscat were both very happy with the result that they had, especially Sheldon, Adam, because of the fact that he took a no-tyre strategy when he came to the pit stop and had a little bit more downforce on the car. So basically what he was looking at was, well, could I hold on? The answer is no, but he still got second, so he's very happy with the points haul he got from that experiment.
Absolutely. He's done his experiences now, and he can kind of push on forward heading into Silverstone. So it'll be interesting to see how he attacks that kind of attacks this race and more towards qualifying as well, to see how that kind of Bentley is set up. I think that's also going to be one interesting thing, but you can already see there the hot lap on the right hand side heading into Copse Corner. It's going to be such an absolute roller coaster for these drivers, and I really think they're going to have a lot of fun racing around this circuit. It's one of the bucket list places for a lot of motorsport fans around the world.
It certainly is, and it's got one of the nicest town names ever associated with it as you run into the small town of Toaster heading in towards Silverstone. And of course, the track map that we've got here going on, driving down the Hanger Straight and over towards Stowe Corner. This is the section of the circuit, Adam, where you are reliant on just trying to carry as much speed and as much momentum as possible. This is going to be a really, really important middle sector of the lap that we'll find, especially as we are running from the national pits and not necessarily from the grandstand pits, which you can see that we're going by right now. I believe we just lost Adam again, so we'll just jump through. Adam, we are looking at what is a wonderful lap, or we just were looking at a wonderful lap. So long lap around here. The easy thing to remember is you've got great places to overtake because you've got the Wellington Straight into Brooklands and you've got the Hanger Straight as well into Stowe.
You're right in all of that. You've got so many potential overtaking opportunities with a GT car. You can be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more inventive as well. Of course, there's not the most aerodynamics on these GT3 cars. They're big and bulky, and I'm sure that they'll be quite the handful to go through. They're not very much slippery unless you want to go that way with the setup. But it will be interesting to see how these drivers tackle all the corners. I'm really interested to see how they can approach Brooklands and Luffield. Of course, the two kind of final corners of the the circuit that we're going to be using. Of course, there's so many switchback lines to use. They're really going to have to be inventive if they want to try and get a move. And of course, also if they do get a good run out of that last corner of Luffield, then they're going to be set for an absolute dash down towards the start finish straight and in towards Cops, and a potential overtaking opportunity there.
Well, before any of all that we're talking about, we've got qualifying to conduct. Stay with us here at Velocity Esports Racing. We'll be back with the ACER Malta GT3 Championship qualifying after this. And so we hit the 20 minutes of allotted qualifying that all of these drivers are allowed. They will realise that by the end of this qualifying session, these drivers will be hoping to find themselves on that pole position around a circuit right now, which is in the early morning conditions out there at 10:03. As things currently stands, quite overcast in terms of how this circuit holds itself at the moment, but no sign of rain has thrown itself down the gauntlet yet. So they are all fine at the moment with what they're dealing with. Currently with Ryan Carabot there for his first start of the season in the Ferrari, and these drivers are locked in terms of their manufacturer, so they will have to be on the level that they find themselves with. With Adrian Manduka, your championship leader, the likes, of course, of Aaron De Battista will want to prove himself well, and of course, got Sheldon Muscat there. This is a star-studded field here in the Maltese scene, and Adrian Manduka will have to do everything he possibly can to make sure that he holds his station out there. His first time over the line at the national pits is a 1:58.2, which goes about a 1/10 to 2/10 clear of what we have just seen from Ryan Carabot. He runs a little bit wide there, Adam, going through then at Chapel Corner, and as such, he has to completely abandon this second lap because he's now half a second down on Sheldon Muscat's Bentley.
Well, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. If you do get it wrong through one part of that famous sweeping corner, then you're going to be completely off rhythm for the rest, and you might as well just completely back off. But you see there, Sheldon Muscat getting a little bit on the grass, trying to take it very, very aggressive, taking the aggressive approach. You can do that in these GT3 cars, but taking a little bit too much there on the run off through Chapel as he carries the speed all the way down the Bentley, all the way down the Bentley Street. That's a completely another circuit down the hang stretch towards.
I think we just lost Adam there for a moment, so we will continue on with this challenge as Sheldon Muscat runs through what is effectively the middle sector of the lap, heading over towards the front stretch, or what is normally the front stretch out there of racing, but of course this is the back stretch there to Lewis Hamilton Straight, leading through the Abbey and then having to skirt through the farm and over towards the village. But out of the village is Denzel Agius in the number 89 McLaren, looking to try and get a whole heap of speed moving forward right now. The Agius brothers are 5th and 6th as things stands at the moment. One in a Ford, one of course in a McLaren, and we are seeing here that it is very much a case of Ferraris versus McLarens out there in terms of the popularity of which car of manufacturer you go to, Adam. So, heading over the line, Denzel Agius making that run and remaining at 9/10 of a second off. Ryan Carabot has shaved the gap down to 3.5 of a second at this moment in time, and so he is hoping to try and improve on that with a few laps. Now, this is going to be the sort of circuit, Adam, that is going to bring the tyres up to temperature, and you're going to need a couple of laps, especially in the cold conditions, 2 laps, 3 laps, maybe 4 laps, to get the tyres into the ultimate operating window.
Yeah, there's a lot of sweepers on this circuit, so be prepared to be able to heat up your tyres. But as you said, these colder conditions will take effect of these tyres, and they will take a while to get up to speed. Of course, the track temperature is not at its peak, it's not at its optimum temperature. Of course, there's not going to be as much sliding around. Well, in terms of it's going to be sliding around, but that's of course because the tyres are a little bit cold. So you've got to be a little bit more careful and know when your tyres are up to grip. So you need to really be able to feel the car to know that your tyres are in the kind of the groove to be able to go on that hot lap. And we do see Adrian Manduka now heading down toward Brooklands and Luffield. Of course, Brooklands named after the old oval, which kind of copied off Indianapolis all the way back in 1909. So that was a very, very famous circuit back in the old days. It's now become a museum, so of course you can go and see that. But right now we're at the proper home of British motorsport. Across the line for Adrian Manduka, only goes second, just shy of 0.3 of a second of Sheldon Muscat in his Bentley. But Chris Gatt jumping over the bumps, over the curbs there, trying to get as much as he can out of this lap. But yeah, that seems to be a little bit harsh there on that small McLaren.
Yeah, that's really not nice there, going over the bumps, and you just look at the back of the car and how it oscillates. He's got a really, really loose piece of machinery there. There's a lot of, I would say, oscillation there, and I wonder what he's done with the damping settings on that machine, because that will be really tough to deal with. Now, Aaron De Battista has found himself with a wonderful time out there. He's just 1/4 of a tenth off of Sheldon Muscat, so it is now starting to be about finding the finer margins out there. Remember that they have 11 minutes remaining, so these times are certainly being found on the board, and Gatt now heading towards what will soon be the final sector of the lap, running through the middle of the track. Of course, back in the old days when you didn't have the start-finish line move, you had that run over through Bridge and Priory. And there is James Smith in the Marlboro car. Of course, we do not condone smoking here, but the red and white is what is known as a traditional livery out there on track. 1.6 seconds adrift at this moment in time, running around through at the Vale, and now looking to lean over on the Lewis Hampton straight into Abbey Corner.
Absolutely, just trying to chuck the car through, and we'll switch over there to Samuel Nixon, who's just starting his lap. He's 2.7 seconds down, but still a lot of time to still make up. Over 10 minutes left of the second, so we're just about to click over halfway. And to see how Nixon does in his beautiful Ferrari 296 GT3, he powers his way now down the hangar straight, and where is he going to pick out his braking point? It should be just before the 100-meter board, because these are very heavy machinery. As he turns his way in, the back gets loose, and unfortunately has to abandon that lap time. Unfortunately there for Mifsud, he's going to have to change a couple of things on that car before he can send it back out again.
Well, the Fox Cafe will need to open for business sometime soon. So at this point, it's going to be about whether that's going to be a lap time that can be improved. Down there in 10th position, high up in the championship. You feel being 2 3/4 seconds off the pace. Will need a little bit more improvement out there. Gatt now running through the middle sector now, and getting that long launch through Stowe, and now looking to drop down the hill and use the braking zone in through the Vale, and looking towards the club corner here, which is this long right-hander, and you're always trying to maximize the circuit to attack off of the exit and push on further forward. So that's going to be where questions need to be asked, whether that is going to be out there and looking to push. So we will see whether that is going to be next on the list for Gatt, trying to pull together the lap. And this is a really tough bit of qualifying here for Chris Gatt at this moment in time, Adam. You're 1.4 seconds adrift of the next car in front, and you're trying everything in your power to put the power down and to be aggressive. And sometimes you do just have to try and throw it through the corners, as we see through Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight. You just need the confidence in the car underneath you to go quicker.
You do. It's kind of all down to your kind of feel of the car. Does it need more roll? Does it need more front end, more downforce? What else does this car need? And it's all kind of down to the driver to decide that. So we saw that Chris Gatt, of course, as you said, the dampers may have been were very questionable on that car. I think he may have had that a little bit too maybe stiff. So potentially may have softened them over the course of the last couple of minutes. But what about Sheldon Muscat heading over the Hamilton Straight and in towards Abbey Corner? Of course, did a personal best last time around and extended his margin, but not by much. Only now 8/800ths of a second to Aaron De Baptista, with Adrian Manduka still just over 3/10 adrift. So really seeing this Bentley really being pushed. And of course, I feel that Muscat will go quite refreshed into the second round of the championship. He's made his mistakes earlier in the round at Zolder, but he's now really looking to be able to push and maybe take a win here, because he's going to be critical for a championship. Get that win on the board early, get those 30 points in the bag, and then see how the rest of the rounds go, and find yourself in a really good piece of momentum.
Well, he's gone from being a quarter of a tenth up to being almost a full tenth up on Aaron De Baptista as things stand. And what is worth also keeping in mind with these lap times is he comes over to the line and sets a 58.012, which will not be an improvement on the laps. Adrian Manduka, is there and is actually on a 58.012. I'll correct myself for a moment. But he is the sort of driver there, Adam, who is a race driver rather than a qualifier. The one weakness you could say of Adrian Manduka that we saw all throughout the V1 series, which is also a property that's going on right now in the Velocity Esports racing sphere. You can say right now, Adrian Manduka needs to find that his qualifying pace can match his race pace. That's the only place that maybe he falls down a little bit, and especially he'll be looking to try and improve that. He's currently on the second row.
He is at this moment in time, and it won't be bad if he goes on the second row. I definitely think he will be. I think he'll be happy with that. But he would like to be on that front row just to be able to go alongside Muscat and be able to maybe give him a little bit of the mirrors going in towards that first corner or all throughout the lap. But he's at the moment in a really, really nice rhythm, heading around the loop and trying to get that power down. Of course, traction control is a driver aid on these cars, on these GT3s, so you will be using that as much as you possibly can, unless you found a little bit of a confidence to not be using that. Now, toward the left-hander here at Brooklands Corner, right side down, cutting a little bit on the inside, because then you'll be able to chuck it in towards left field, trying to keep it nice and tight, running a little bit wide out here. How much curb will you use? You'll go out to the white and black rumble strips, and then just about a little cut through there, from over toward the line, you cross the timing beam, and it's down by, it's still third place for now, but down less than 0.2 of a second. So making gains there is Adrian Manduka. We now see Samuel Mifsud in his Ferrari number 12 heading heading down the hangar straight. And we'll have to see if he can improve his ninth place, currently on the 5th row of the grid.
Well, the good news for Samuel Mifsud is that he has jumped Daryl Martinelli out there, who has now found himself a 10.5 behind him. Manduka has halved the gap that he needs to pole position, but we don't know whether those final laps might just prove to be a little bit of a difference maker out there. The Fox Sprint racing car making its way, the Ferrari, around then the middle sector of the lap, and hoping to find an improvement of 0.4 of a second. Aaron De Baptista 0.2 off on that last lap to a 57.9. You can say it's a 10.5 that he was off of the pace, and he's got a massive bundle of oversteer, and that will have to be abandoned that lap, as he will have to pull that off the road and back into the pits. Disastrous as he was really pushing at that point. and you're really getting a sense here of the drivers who are all looking to try and push out there. You've got Denzel Agius in 6th position. I'd like to see how that Ford's doing at the moment. 5th position and 3/4 of a second off of pole. Ryan Carabot has just gone quicker to go to 2/10 of drift. We have got a stellar showdown in the final 3.5.
You absolutely do, and they're really going to try and hoof it up towards that final kind of couple of minutes. So we've got 3.5 minutes left on the clock. You do want to be out there getting those lap time in, and I currently see that I believe there's only one driver in that pit lane, and that is the number 46 there of Brandon McCaleb. That number 46 BMW, so he won't be able to get a good lap with the tyres up to temperature, especially as we've been saying, Jake, in these cold conditions. But Carabot there, he's trying to make a new kind of form here, because he didn't have the best of races in Zolder and wants to come back with a big old spring in his step. And the only way he can do that is putting his car into a good position. And right now, it is the second row alongside Adrian Manduka, his V1 Malta rival from the last season. But he carries his car through Abbey Corner, trying to use all the speed he possibly can in that big old box of a Ferrari, the blue and the beautiful blue and the white there, heading through Farm Corner. He's right on the lemons here. Can he put that even closer to the time of Muscat?
Well, he wants to put it closer. He knows that he needs to put it closer. When you've got a round missing to start the season, it's 30 points that you start at a deficit. And, well, if you're going to give yourself a disadvantage like that, you're going to have to work really hard to make sure that you pull that back together. We know how quick he can be on his day, and he looks to try and mastermind the middle sector, aggressively turning in for Luffield Corner, trying to keep it nice and shallow to attack off the exit again, and then run all the way forward here through Woodcote and over towards the line. He'll have one more lap after this, so that 58.3, not good enough. He needs this lap to be the one that makes it go and gets what it wants. Sheldon Muscat currently out there on a lap at the moment, running through the middle sector, heading through the Vale and now through Club.
Absolutely, he's really running that car to his best of its ability. He's going a little bit wide there, but he's just trying to use every single piece of racing road. You'll see he'll use the rumble strip there on the left-hand side. That's what a lot of GT3 drivers will do. They will use that outside curve, try and get the turn in for Abbey, try and get as much speed out of their GT3 car as possible. They carry now through the left-hand of the Muscat will barrel through the left-hander here, and he continues to up the speed here in his beautiful Bentley GT3 car, powering it down the Wellington straight. I think we've had another lap time input. I think that was Andrea Galea, I believe, in the number 22 McLaren. Into 7, the number 12 is going to cross the line. That's going to be missed, but we're running it right out wide there for Sheldon Muscat. He wants to get the best run all the way down this long straight. And with 30 seconds left on the clock, he'll cross this timing beam. He's a little cut through there the right hand side, and he'll go over the timing line, and it's a 59.1. So unfortunate there, but this is Galea now in the McLaren turning through Stowe Corner.
Yep, so he'll be certainly looking for his finish, and that clock is really winding down. So you look at Aaron De Battista, he might not get another lap in here with 10 seconds to go. Ryan Carabot there as well on the mini map, going through the final corners. We'll need to see what laps they do, because the checkered flag is about to fly out. Agius can't improve, and now we get that sense of who's going to find what as they cross the line, and it will be the 95 who goes fastest by 300ths of a second. Aaron De Battista finds it in the clutch. Carabot goes third quickest, a 10th and a half off the pace, and did improve. Sheldon, it is all down to you now, buddy. He's got to find an absolutely monstrous lap in that Bentley, because the McLaren of Aaron De Battista, who fell away dramatically at Zolder, has come here to race and is looking for pace. Now heading through the second half of the second sector, through Abbey Corner, really having to attack every single part of this one, in through what is the arena now, into the village, looking for the loop, and he's trying to maximize his track early to the right-hand side of the circuit. Get as much drive out to the loop, because Aintree is going to be a corner that you need to set up that run. Heading on to Wellington and charging. The only other drivers out there right now is Alexander Galea and Samuel Mifsud, and the 12 of Mifsud is the car in front. Everybody waits for Sheldon Muscat's lap time to try and find that cross. 300ths of a second. You can blink and you can miss 300ths of a second, but has he found a blink's worth of pace out there heading towards the line? He's hoping that he's going to find it. Cuts all the corner and then some. Shallow to the line, it's not there. De Battista takes the pole.
Brilliant stuff there from Aaron De Battista. Say the best till last, and the 95 will line up ahead of the 94 for this race at Silverstone. A brilliant showing in qualifying, but my goodness me, are we set up for a brilliant 45 minutes ahead of us?
I think we absolutely are, and we're going to see that coming along in just the next few moments then, with qualifying all sorted. We'll step aside for one moment. When we come back, it's race time.
See it falling into place. It's the right time, right place. How I'm loving life these days.
The all-new Hyundai Kona. Seriously fun.
And so 45 minutes worth of racing is soon about to hit the board. These drivers will realise that they will have one full pace lap around the circuit to get the heat into the tyres, and they will have one mandatory pit stop that they will need to take at some point during the race. So there is a lot for them to try and unpack here in terms of what they are going for in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Not necessarily the easiest challenge that they will have out there, but right now they know that this is a type of circuit which I would say isn't necessarily ideal and conducive for racing. It's a little bit cold, it's a little bit muggy out there. You're not quite 100% sure, Adam, what this sort of circuit's going to do over 45 minutes. You're just looking up at the sky, praying it's going to stay somewhat dry, and then trying to work out strategy from that point onwards.
Yeah, of course, we did have a little bit of potential rain the last time around at Zolder, but yeah, it never really came to fruition. But of course, Silverstone is completely different, and of course, you really don't expect, you need to kind of be aware of what the weather is going to be like. It can be very, very unpredictable over the course of a weekend, and yeah, you will be needing to look up at the sky. You may need to have those wet tyres at the ready, but for this moment in time, that McLaren of De Baptista will only be worrying about that Bentley behind. Other than that, just keep driving forward, and he should be in a really, really nice position. But I think we've got those two Ferrari to look at, Carabot and Manduca. They will be very, very competitive. And of course, winner last time out, starting 4th place. How will he fare when we go throughout these 45 minutes? As you said, race pace seems to be the way that Manduca goes forward.
Well, we do know that Adrian Manduca, who's on the 2nd row in the Ferraris, does have that ability to make moves, has done so many times, and had to do so again when it came through. Now look how aggressive these drivers are trying to warm up the tyres. Aaron De Baptista with a full piece of opposite lock there, sliding the car around, heading to the club corner. So you're really getting the sense that this is a circuit right now with how cold it is. They want tyre temps first and foremost. They know that around this lap, they are going to be struggling to keep the temperature in the tyres, and it may take them a lap or maybe even 2 laps to get the tyres fully and functional into the window that they're hoping for. This is what they're having to deal with. A circuit right now which is very long, and that you've got effectively to try and put that temperature back in to give yourself the best run. Now, of course, there's always a caveat to putting all of that temperature in. It's how much temperature do you want to keep in the tyres here, Adam, compared to how much do you want to burn the tyre life of the tyre carcass as long as you go around the circuit. Because if you don't run them up in a certain way and heat the tyre in a certain way, you are going to start burning the tyre life.
You're right, you are going to have to try and potentially find a middle ground, or you're going to have to try and find a way with trying not to burn your tyres up, but like you say, to try and keep them in the working window. And with these kind of endurance tyres, the way that GT3 cars are, it's very hard to do so, and there's no real potential, there's no real way that these cars can maintain those hot tyre. But you can see there, De Baptista really wants those warm tyre, because of course he's focusing on that first corner of Cops. Of course, a long right-hander, 90 degrees, but it's very, very quick. And of course, if he goes a little bit wide, he's going to be really feeling the pressure from Muscat in behind. The last thing he wants to do is just hand over the lead to the Bentley and just let him run away with it. But of course, we know that Muscat will have some really, really good pace, and if we head to the green flag here, there's going to be a lot to really think about over the next 45 minutes here, Jake.
Aaron De Baptista needing points after what wasn't the greatest showing for him last time out at Zolder. Sheldon Muscat, who knows a thing or two about seconds in this series, got one in the season opener. He was looking to try and improve. VMD Intercomp on the front row, and look at that, 3, 4 and 6 trying to get that chase sorted. So now they look to set themselves up. They wait for the start line to come along, and let's get ourselves going. 45 minutes on the clock, and a speeding violation then from Gat, who will get a drive-through penalty. Smith already in the pits then after not taking that lap fully around, and so we'll have to try and get that launch through, but a disaster off the start there. Manduca chasing down through Maggot, and now heading towards Beckett's corner, which comes along next. That's this right-hander, and then you got Chapel, which is the left that leads onto the hanger straight. Sheldon Muscat in second, clean start from the front.
Absolutely, that's what he's been looking for, and he was hoping to try and keep it. Look at the Bentley there in behind, using the 60 to try and pull it himself to within a couple of meters within the McLaren, so we already know that the Bentley has got some good straight line speed. Who's that off in the background? Is that going to be Manduka? I think that might be Manduka off in the background there. Unfortunately, we'll have to see what will happen when we get a little bit of a refresh in the timing screen, but they head their way around. And yes, you can see there is a Ford now in fourth place. We get a replay. Oh, just touched the grass there. It seemed like going right off in toward the gravel trap. And really unfortunate there for it seems like Adrian Mandu will get a confirmation of that in just a moment. Oh, it comes back in front of the BMW as well.
Very nearly finding dramas out there. We'll get a find out on the second stage. It was in fact Ryan Carabot who had fallen and made that mistake down to 11th position with it all to do, making the move on Mikolev for position in the sole BMW out there. So definitely that progress important and done out there on circuit. So now De Battista from Muscat, from Manduka, from the Agiuses in 4th and 5th position out there at this stage, with Smith still in the pits. I think Smith is out of this race early without so much as taking a lap around here on circuit, which is a very unique and bizarre situation for him. I wonder if he had an issue in the warm-up lap which forced him to take the tow back to the pits, but crucially they are long laps around here and the pit window doesn't open until 5 minutes has passed here in this one. Then you can pit until 5 minutes before the end, and finally there goes James Smith. They're out there, and yes, very much running a Maltese flag out there with the Marlboro name for the quote of having a red and white car out there, and he will be a full lap down getting his start out on this circuit. So he's got work to do. Alexander Galea there in 6th position. He's looking further forward because he sees Denzel Agius as a car that he can pass.
Absolutely, but he's now going to keep looking behind here because here comes Samuel Mifsud looking to go around the outside, but had that McLaren out broken himself, could that be smart play from Mifsud? Luckily, Alexander Galea just holding him firm. And at this moment in time, I think Galea will be hoping that he's got good race pace. He'll definitely know himself, but from our commentary point of view, there's not really any great sign. We'll have to see how that kind of pans out in the next potential 10 minutes. We'll see how that kind of evolves over time. But yeah, he got a 4th place last time out in Zolder, so got a little bit of good momentum going into towards Silverstone, but of course he's got a whole kind of season to carry that momentum. We'll have to see how that pans out. Pit window is now open for these drivers, so they can make their ways into the pits as well. And we saw this last time around in Zolder, so yeah, the pit window does come in very early. It is very, very wide, so you can make your pit stop here pretty early or make it late. There goes Sheldon Muscat. He's going to make a move here, potentially on the McLaren there of De Battista. Through into the lead he goes. Lead change, but here comes McLaren looking back at him, and we'll have to see if he can cut underneath here with the McLaren now trying to get the power down. But we know the Bentley is great straight line speed and could hold that position well.
Very much could do that. So Aaron De Battista must cede the race lead to Sheldon Muscat. They have allowed in Adrian Manduka. Now the key here to the pit window is it will close with 2.5 minutes remaining out there overall in this race. So everyone will have to go and make a pit stop at some point, and they will have to go through. Gat has come into the pits. That will be for his drive-through penalty that he has to serve, and that will put him way to the back of the field, and that will not count as his mandatory pit stop. Back onto the hangar straight once again. We'll see what the McLaren can do against the Bentley on this long hangar run. Slightly down the hill, over towards Stowe Corner, but not close enough to make that lunging move right now. Manduka's taken a couple of laps to get up into range, and he'll feel quite comfy at the fact that he's managed to keep the car there. They are keeping Agius at bay there in 4th position in the Ford, so they are certainly doing what they want as the top 3, which is to try and build a gap, especially with Ryan Carabot, who will be driving angry back through this field.
We'll be looking to potentially try and make those moves. That's Ryan Carabot now trying to make his way, as you say, through the field on the inside there. Club Corner, he was very much tempted to do so. He's now got the inside of Abbey Corner, tries to make his way through on Martinelli. Oh my goodness me, they're getting pretty close there, but that's just your typical GT3 Ray trying to cut in and under, but he's just not quite got it. But good speed here from Carabot. But again, for the second time in a row. He started off the race by making a small error on those cold tyres and has now got to try and fight his way through the field. Meanwhile, De Baptista up ahead is now closing in once again on that Bentley. He's got to do it through the corners. You can already see that Bentley is looking not the best through the corners. It's looking a little bit sluggish, and if they continue passing, look at that Duker in behind, could potentially take advantage in this three-horse fight for the lead of this race.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 there. Manduka with the fastest lap next to him in that third position. Karabot now through on Martinelli for position, so now up to 8th place, but 6 seconds adrift. Look how much time it's cost him trying to find a way through. 6 seconds to try and chase on back. But for the moment, De Baptista certainly proving he's got something to get on and working with at this stage as he now starts to rush all the way down, hoping that he can hit the brakes where he wants to against Muscat, but again, he's going to have to fall into line. And I think where Aaron De Baptista finds himself out is that he's going to need a very nice strategy out there that's going to pay dividends come the end of this race, because he can't do it at the moment to find a move around this section of track. He looks very quick through the corners, but I don't think he's got enough for the straights.
Yeah, I think that's going to be within the corners and potentially on strategy. So does he decide to come in early? Does he have belief in his pace? If that Bentley does decide to pit early and just try and go for the undercut, does De Baptista have the pace to push on forward, be able to get past that Bentley? So it will be a big game of strategy, and we'll just try and continue to have to try and push on here and just see if that Bentley does decide to go long and then potentially go for the undercut here. But you're seeing now the Bentley pulling away just that little bit now, but in toward the braking zone. De Baptista will gain. The turning of the car will come in its way, and we'll follow our way through Luffield, and then it will come onto the main straight here, the old pit straight if you're a Formula 1 fan, but the main pit straight this time here in the GT3 world. But Muscat again pulling away, so we're seeing the strengths and weaknesses of both cars, and it's kind of like a yin and yang. Of course, the Bentley fast in the out the corners, fast down the straight line speed, but then De Baptista is a bit faster in the corners. I think maybe the high speed could be a bit more in favour of the Bentley, but I think that will be a bit more of a keen eye for us to look into.
Well, there is the Aversio car of Adrian Manduka, who is closing on in on second position and would very much like to make this move and create parity in the championship once again with Sheldon Muscat if he does make this pass. He's not close enough yet, and he knows that Aaron De Baptista is slowly falling away out there over these early stages of this race, knowing that they are about 10 minutes through soon, in about the next minute or so. So this is where they're gearing up. They're realizing, what can you do at 10, what can you do at 15, what are you doing at 20, and crucially, what can you do at 22 and a half if you want to half and half the strategy. In through Abbey Corner, you can really sense that McLaren in front is having to slide about a little bit more on the rear tyres to get any sort of rotation to go through, and that's where it's not going to pay off for that McLaren if it's so rear limited compared to what looks like a very balanced Ferrari that Adrian Manduka is driving. But you will see over the course of the season as well here, Adam, that certain cars are going to suit or not suit certain circuits.
You're right, we will see that that amazing beauty of GT3 racing. We'll be able to see the way these cars are balanced all the way through, but it's again also down to the driver. They need to be able to race these cars around these beautiful circuits in order to get the best out of their kind of results as well. And of course, when we go to the next round, we'll have to really rethink that as well as kind of the presenters of this of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship will really have to be able to keep an eye on what will be next, and of course what car could suit the circuit. But there is Manduka just continuing to press on here keeping it very, very balanced. But I think the rear is stepping out there, and that's a big old rear step out for Aaron De Baptista. That is a struggling McLaren, and he knows it well.
Yeah, look, that gap's almost clawing out to 2 seconds at this point, and Sheldon Muscat is driving away in the early goings, and again over the curb, struggling a little bit with understeer in the front and oversteer in the back. So this is a case where he can't get the car pointed in the way he absolutely wants to through the corners, and every time he touches the throttle pedal, the car just wants to snap back away from him. And it's a really awkward sight when you're out there driving right now, because when you look at Aaron De Baptista, it is effectively the GT3 equivalent of trying to drive an Australian touring car.
It does feel like, of course, known to be very, very heavy, known to be one of those cars where you have to really turn the car in to feed it through. But of course, yeah, you've seen that the supercar you're kind of referring to is very similar to the way that McLaren is working at this moment in time. And I wonder if Manduka is sensing his chance. I think he will want to try and find a way past Sue, then be able to build onto that Muscat gap. They pass the BRDC clubhouse on that right hand side, a beautiful view of Brooklyn and Luffield. They'll follow the cars all the way through, and of course the beautiful grandstand I got to sit in almost 2 weeks ago now for the British Touring Car Championship. It was brilliant seeing those cars being fed through the Brooklands and Luffield sequence of corners, but Manduka continued to hustle and hound, and I wonder if De Baptista is now looking in his mirrors.
I think he's doing a lot of that when you consider that Manduka and De Baptista have a 3-second gap over Agius in 4th, and then you got, of course, Denzel Agius in 5th, who is doing a wonderful job. I do want to see that Ford there in 4th position, doing a wonderful job, quiet job there in 4th position. Angelo Agius having a wonderful run.
He is as well, and that beautiful orange-blue with the white gradient Ford as well. Just trying to get the best result as he can. Of course, finished 7th last time around, so not too bad for the Ford debut on a set of course of Competizione as he heads his way through the Club Chicane. He is really starting to find his feet in that Ford. I wasn't having many expectations with the Ford coming into ACC. I didn't know what kind of circuits it would suit. Of course, we know that it's a front-running engine. You can see the massive kind of bonnet, and that's why it is known front engine car. But yeah, it just feels a bit, just from its looks, it feels like a very, very heavy car, and one that doesn't really suit any circuit in my eyes. But I think as time goes on, we will be able to find the circuit that kind of suits. And at this moment in time, Adge is really guiding that car to a great place. He just needs to play it safe on the strategy, and he could get a big haul of points here.
Well, it's a haul of points that he'll be looking to try and build here in the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. Ryan Carabot has really had to work hard to get to the next car in line. You can see he had a 6-second gap to Samuel Midser to chase down. He's got that down to at least 1.3 seconds out there and running the gauntlet to try and go through. 45 minutes in these cars does not seem like a very long time at all. And so you're constantly working to try and make sure you've got a way to get forward. Manduka following then through the S's of Maggot, and now looking for the long left-hander, which leads into Beckett's corner, and then Chapel on the exit leads to the Hangar Straight, and that long run down on the old airfield here, which leads to this wonderful little bit of running that they've got there. The Porsche Centre, of course, on the right-hand side, as you see things on your camera, and then into that right-hander of Stowe, which is a corner that back in the day would separate the wheat from the chaff.
You really hit the nail on the head there. It was a long right-hander, and then it would just go straight all the way through in towards this corner, club corner, all the way back in the 1960s, and really seeing the evolution of Silverstone. Of course, the first iteration of Silverstone was back in 1948 as well. Back when, of course, it was just an airfield strip, but now these cars are running around a proper FIA Grade 1 Super Circuit, and Sheldon Muscat is currently king on the road here. He is running with 2 seconds in front of De Baptista. Will that gap close up, or will it gain? It gains up to 2.3 with Manduka just in behind. And with that battle, you've just seen that they're not really having a bit of a ding-dong here with De Baptista and Manduka. It's because they're both similar cars. You see that the Ferrari and the McLaren are very, very similar, those two. And of course, they've probably got similar strengths, similar weaknesses as well. So not really much you can do in that case. Manduka now runs all the way down towards Copse Corner. He's not going to have a go here. He just wants to fill the mirrors, get in towards that rear end of De Baptista, start to scare him off the road potentially, but of course, as I say that, he kind of runs half off the road himself. But we'll have to see how he kind of copes in the high-speed corners we're seeing through here. And could potentially make a move in towards Stowe, but I don't know if he's going to be close enough to do that. Just more time spent behind that McLaren for Manduka.
Well, he can stare at it as much as he likes. He knows that he's letting the bigger fish get away at this moment in time if he's not too careful about the way he goes about business here. Manduka knows that there's a pit stop window, and you can see that he's got the rain light flashing there behind, which is a choice in these conditions because it's not quite raining out there, so he's definitely gearing up for that wet weather potentially there with the rain light that's been flashing the entire race long. That can be, if he gets in front of Aaron De Baptista, a little bit distracting out there for him. So we've got to see whether he can make that pass first and foremost, and then look to launch and give chase to Sheldon Muscat. So that's what he's trying to angle up at the moment. We're almost at the halfway stage of this race. We're about 5 minutes away from it. Still no takers in terms of diving down into the pit. So if everyone decides that they want to come in at exactly the same time, it produces a completely different affair of things as Ryan Carabot gets close, heading in towards the village corner, and he can't quite find what he wants. And Manduka pivots out to the mirrors and doesn't quite get the angle just yet, so he's just testing the waters.
He is as well. He's just trying to follow in the wheel tracks there of that McLaren. Just try and find where he's potentially weak, potentially strong here. See if he can maybe make an improvement to his game here of trying to get past that McLaren. But all the way down this main pit straight in towards Copse Corner. Not an overtaking opportunity unless you're a very, very big, very bold. There's a quote said by James Hunt, but unfortunately I will not be repeating that on live broadcast. But through the left and the right, and the left once again here, Manduka really just trying to hustle and hound that McLaren. He needs to get past whatever kind of matters here. And Carabot also trying to make a move here on Mifsud. That could be done all the way down at Stowe Corner. Here, Jake.
Yeah. So all the way at Stowe would be where Ryan Carabot's trying to line this up, and he takes a very narrow line through as Samuel Mifsud runs a little bit wide going through Beckett's, and that just completely opens up the door. Ferrari versus Ferrari power, and now it's all about bravery on the brakes into Stowe. Carabot having to go the long way around. Oh, he gives him a bump, and he's going to give himself a bit of contact, and he was trying to maybe slip up and under there through him, thinking that Samuel Mifsud was going to break a little bit later than that. He didn't, and as such, they have to hold themselves back in line. Ryan Carabot cannot afford to get complacent with his overtakes.
Hey, no, he can't. He needs to keep it nice and cool, otherwise he will be given a penalty for sure. But at this moment in time, the Maltese driver off Carabot should continue to power through. I think he's going to potentially try and make a move very, very soon. But where is he going to opt to do that? Does he try and take Mifsud by surprise? Or does he try and go with a simple maneuver? We saw that I think one slip up there for Mifsud cost him a good half, maybe even 6/10 of a second. If he can try and carry a little bit more speed somewhere else, there will be a really big chance here for Mifsud to be defenseless in that case. But Carabot has just got to continue on his way. Meanwhile, Sheldon Muscat goes a little bit wide through there in terms of Copse Corner, but he's still got a 3.5 second lead. Manduka still stuck behind De Baptista.
Yep, still stuck at the moment, and that's going to be really hurting because look at what Sheldon's been able to do. 3.5 seconds, and he is just quietly going about this. An extra 10th here, an extra 10th there, an extra 10th, just continuing to find itself then in his back pocket, and they all count up, but he hasn't had the best of opening sectors because he's dropped 7 tenths on that opening sector alone. So Sheldon Muscat with a small mistake, and it didn't really look like he did too much wrong there through that opening sector.
He didn't. I think that kind of just proves it's one mistake can cost you a lot. Also, he's being very, very consistent over the course of the last couple of minutes. I do think we're going to be seeing a couple of pit stops very, very soon. And that sees Ryan Carabot in at this moment in time. I'm not sure if he's had an accident or if something's just happened, but he does seem to be in the pit lane. I'm not sure if he's going to pull out. He does, so it looks like he served his mandatory stop, and he will be heading back out onto the circuit. But right now, Muscat still in a good lead for now, but Manduka will be a little bit more fired up to try and get past him. He's now very, very soon going to hit that halfway mark. I wonder if this is Carabot's attempt at potentially an undercut here on this episode, and potentially even Galea if he can potentially get there. But of course it's going to be the first car to come into the pit lane, and there diving off is Manduka. I've had enough of sitting behind that McLaren. I'm going to make my own strategy, and now let's see if I can do anything coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, 50 kilometers an hour down the pit lane. It is going to be a slow old crawl down at the old pit boxes to get what he wants. So this is undercut strategy, trying to basically manifest here. And Aaron De Battista is going to know it. He's going to need the best lap possible. And you can see he's really having to rag and work on the steering wheel to get anything near what he wants in this race, which is to have the pace to go out there and keep that Ferrari behind him, which will need an outlap here that is going to be sensational, because remember, they are going to have to try and get those tyres working to an operating window. But you got Galea in, you got Mifsud in, you got Martinelli in as well. Mikolev has been in the pits and will be the first one to leave out there at this point. So you've got all these drivers who are in the pits, getting their service, looking for what they've got. And of course, the question to be asked here is, well, does Sheldon Muscat want to make that call, or does Aaron De Battista want to be the one who decides I've got to cover off Adrian Manduka?
Well, it's going to be very, very difficult, but of course, Muscat, I think, will just go on his way. Oh, he's made a bit of an error. Just about saved it. My goodness. That was a bit of a hairy moment there for Muscat. I think he's going to take it a little bit more cautiously the next time around, but De Battista would have closed that gap by a good amount now, and that he has no idea this happened, but that's going to put Manduka into a little bit of the fray a little bit more for the lead of this race. Remember, that lead extended to almost 4 seconds, and now you can see it just get kind of cut down now by about a good 2.5-3 seconds in itself. But Manduka will just be trying to carry that car through as much as possible, and we'll have to be very aware of when either Muscat or De Battista come out the pit lane, because as you said, those tyres will be very, very cold and take a good lap to get up to temperature. So they'll have a whole lap to kind of get a good idea of where they currently stand.
The Agius brothers are going to dive in. Angelo followed by Denzel. Ryan Carabot has leapfrogged Samuel Mifsud in the stops and now is looking at Alexander Galea, who will be on colder tyres at this point than the Ferrari runner there in the Aversio car team colours. Project Aversio is looking like it wants to go, and Ryan Carabot looking like he wants to go at this point into the village. Once more he finds, and then running about through the loop and trying to get something on the exit here. There is Denzel Agius, there is Angelo Agius, and both of whom will be looking at, well, I want to get out ahead of Alexander Galea if at all possible. There is Adrian Manduka, who should find himself ahead out there of those drivers. He does have the lap down Brandon Mikulev to deal with, and from pit lane to pit lane, that's the difference. About 2/3 of a lap here between Sheldon Muscat and Adrian Manduka. This will be important stops at an important phase. It's just a case of when.
It is, you're right there. Now Carabos on the back here of Galea, like we've already spoken about, but you're just trying to give him the big old heave-ho. Come on, Galea, let's get a move on here, or I'm going to overtake you. And now, where is the best overtaking opportunity? It will probably be down in towards Stoke Corner, where Adrian Manduka is currently approaching. He'll turn the car in, tip the car through, and a beautiful corner through there. But his main objective now is to just push on, try and catch up to the front two. And we now see that at the two Agius brothers, of course, Denzel ahead of Alexander will now be 4th and 5th. So longer pit stop there for the Ford. And both the leaders are in now, and this is going to be crucial. Who's going to emerge out in front here between the three of them?
Well, Adrian Manduka has been putting those lap times in. We'll see whether he's done enough to get the leapfrog on Aaron De Battista first and foremost. 2 seconds the difference maker. De Battista has pulled into his box, and then you got Sheldon Muscat, who is looking for his opportunities out there to really start flying out there at this point. The number 7 machine, that's of course Chris Gatt, who has left out of the pits. You've now got Manduka, who will be looking around then through Brooklands Corner, just hoping that they stay exactly where they are. Luffield Corner, these long parabolic corners which take an age to turn them to put the power down. And now finally here's the launch, and the question will be Muscat through with his stop, De Battista through with his stop. Watch out for Copse Corner, and who's got the drive, because Manduka's going to turn in, and will they have pace as they leave and exit? He'll get De Battista, no doubts about that, but Sheldon Muscat is only just clear, and I mean only just clear. So now chase on, Adrian, this is your chance.
Absolutely, and a bit of a kick from the rear as well. You can see the Bentley out in front, and it's pushing that car to the absolute max. Watch that gap come down and down and down into the Super he goes, and he's going to just tuck up right behind the big old boxy Bentley. Carabot on the chase, but had been thrown out of rhythm by his opposing McLaren of Alexander Galea. Now they head through Stoke, and he sees that Bentley looming closer and closer into the windscreen of the Ferrari. Tipped it through the left, in towards the right. Now he's thinking, if I can get close enough, where do I make this move? They head over the Hamilton straight, and he's again going to continuously flip the circle in his head. Where can I make this move? I will be a little bit understeer for Muscat in that Bentley if he hasn't gotten himself up to temperature just yet. But I think Manduka is going to continue to be on the chart. But what are those tyres looking like for the Bentley? I'm not sure if they're going to be in the best spot here. And now we're starting to see the Ferrari where it could be in this best place ever. Heading now toward the Brooklands and Luffield complex. Could this be potential here for Manduka to get a run through that last corner? We'll have to find out here, Jake.
Well, De Battista's desperate for some tyre life there. You could see him weaving on the straight behind, but Manduka here realising now that he's got to make the move on track with 16.5 minutes to go. Your final pit stop taker will be Jamie Smith, who is currently in the number 1 Maltese car out there at this moment in time. So he will be the final one in the pits. Everyone else will cycle on through, and that will mean that the pit window will effectively be done for everyone. Manduka needing to hold on. This is an important phase for him, because these are the laps, these are the moments where he's got to try and apply that pressure. And Muscat, you can see, is trying to take every liberty he can out of that circuit. The way that he attacked at Maggots there, picking up a little bit of grass on the exit. He wants to shake that Ferrari off of his rear.
Yes, he's trying to do everything he possibly can, but the main question is the tyre. But it looks like he's maintaining a good gap for now. I think he's gained 0.2 of a second since crossing over that timing beam of the start of finish straight. So we're really looking now at the advantage Muscat but we've been in this place before. It's almost deja vu. The Bentley ahead of the Ferrari, coming into that final quarter of the race. Manduka will be pressing on, trying to do everything he can, with De Baptiste now starting to fall back. So it's really it's such a deja vu moment from 7 days ago here, Jake.
Yeah, so this might be roles reversal, but Adrian Manduka here, the difference I think is that Sheldon Muscat has taken tyres this time. Half a second as he exits out then onto Aintree Corner and the Wellington Straight here on this final sector of the lap. And again, he's not got enough gumption to go and beat the Bentley in a straight line. That's where he's looking at here, and he's thinking, well, I'm fantastic through the corners, I've just got to find a corner that works. And the ultimate thing about this Silverstone circuit is it sometimes does have this characteristic of being quite a power track, in the sense that a lot of the corners, yes, while slow and yes, while technical, you don't really have places where you can chain corner after corner after corner. It's only really that infield section where you allow that. And look at what happens for Ryan Carabot, who's stuck in that scenario. Alexander Galea has completely blocked him on every single stage. That Ferrari is struggling for a way through.
Yeah, it's looking to really try and find any avenue through, but there's not seeming to be many ways through. Carabot continuing there to try and hustle on Galea here, just staying right close, tucked out. I think a move could be potentially on here, but he's been waiting so long, sacrificing a little bit of speed for rhythm in towards this Maggotts and Beckett section, and Carabot has just got to try and pile on to that throttle pedal, and now could he potentially go for a move. He is now in the section. He's not quite gaining up here because Lucas McLaren has got a little bit in terms of the straight line speed. They're both very similar in terms of cars. Slide there from the McLaren, and he looks like he's going to try and take him through there. Carabot threw up into 6th place. Good move there, strong move, and put and his contact as well. Oh, that's a bit naughty there from Nissan. But Carabot continues on, up to 7th he goes.
Yeah, that was Galea contact into the back after absolutely demolishing the cone on the outside of Stowe. He runs into the back of Ryan Carabot, who's now got license to break away. It is worth noting that gap has skyrocketed between the likes of Manduka and De Baptiste. I think De Baptiste has had a spin somewhere out on track, because he's now nearly 9 seconds adrift of your leading duo, and he'll be looking back at what are the Agiuses right now. Denzel, who has got in front of Angelo for the 4th position. So there have been changes out on circuit, but Adrian Manduka here is trying to get himself into a position where he can take this victory at the last possible moment. He's pulled another 1/10 of a second down to Sheldon Muscat, and he needs to keep doing that. He needs to keep putting the pressure on here on the Bentley driver, and realise that there is still a very long way yet. Those 12 minutes are going to feel so intense for Sheldon Muscat, but you're really seeing here that Adrian Manduka, that's probably the worst he's taken the Maggotts Beckett section for in a very long time, and look at that gap. It has just exploded out now, 1 second.
Oh, that's going to be a little bit costly, but I wonder if Muscat is now relishing at his option to take tyres. As we discussed here, Jay, he did not take tyres the last time around at Zolder, but this time he is taking that option. Yes, he was battling with Manduka, but finds himself in a comfortable lead for now. And if Muscat can go on and win this race, he knows exactly what to do for future races. But of course, we've got a very difficult round next time for round 3, which we won't get into just yet. But for now, we focus here on the now. And at this moment in time, it's Muscat looking at the big haul of 30 points. Not the 25 you're used to in Formula 1. In the single-seater category, we're looking at 30 points for GT Racing. So as we continue our way down that Wellington straight, Manduka has not got many options left to try and catch that Bentley. Of course, fresh tyres, a good amount of fuel, and I think Manduka will be on the burners here because he's burning all the fuel, burning up the tyres, and it's starting to see that gap, unfortunately, start to get away from him.
Well, this is where you look at Sheldon Muscat, and he does need to seize the moment. He does need to build that gap. 1.2 seconds, that's exactly what he's hoping for as he rushes into Cop's corner. One of the toughest turn ones it used to be in the world, and now is here in this version of the circuit. When you sit down and put on paper, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? You need the ability to just break away. That's what he's trying to bounce on at the moment. There's a bit of traffic in front that hopefully will remain out of the way at this moment. And there is Angelo Agius there in the Ford Mustang trying to find a way to gallop on to Denzel Agius in 4th position in that McLaren. So if there is a way to find that move, well, at the moment, Angelo Agius is really trying to put something to Denzel, who is another one of those sorts of drivers. And you do get this trait, it's rare to see two of them, who just gets better as the race goes on.
Yeah, you're right in that one. You've really hit the nail on the head here. But just continuing with this Ford car, Angelo Agius has really been a star man, I'd say, for this race. He's really taken that Ford up to its grand heights, and was once in 3rd place, I believe, or maybe I believe it was a 4th place. My error in that one, but yeah, it was unfortunately taken by his brother at the pit stop, so he decided to take more fuel, potentially even tires as well. But yeah, that Ford is really running well, and like I say, it's a mystery still. See what tracks it does run well at. But again, I do think we will be able to find those tracks out as we go through the 8 rounds of the ACER Malta GT3 Championship. And it will be a joy to see that Ford on track. I do love a lot of variety on track. I'd love to potentially see an Audi, a Lamborghini, or a Mercedes come out of its garage onto one of these racetracks for sure in the future. But we'll have to see how the championship grows over the next couple of races. Maybe even in the future, hopefully we get up to a brilliant grid of maybe 20.
Well, that is where you start thinking about, okay, what do we need to do? It's a long season and there's a long way still yet to go. We're only round 2 here of 8. There is still those 6 rounds after this, and the 2 Agiuses there, of course not brothers, we're being told, but 2 different Agiuses out there trying to throw everything they've got together on the board. That's a car that's gone off there in front of them, so I think that's De Battista again struggling out there on circuit. So you're really getting to see Aaron De Battista and all he's having to deal with then going around on the outside of these circuits here. He's really having to push, and this is just to try and hold. And we saw this at Zolder to a much more, I would say, aggressive degree with De Battista and the way he's driving, that he cannot keep those tyres in an operating window for very long.
No, he's seemingly struggling with the McLaren at this moment in time. Really not being able to keep the front two. I think he's going to definitely have to evaluate that before going on towards our future round. But oh, that's a bit of a moment there for Angelo Agius in that Ford, getting a little bit twitchy through the right-hander. I think that's where it limits the Ford. But there is Bertrand Mikhailov in the BMW. Of course, not had the best of races so far, but he is just trying to gain. Well, not really gain, but he's just trying to get some self-data for himself. He's just trying to learn in this very difficult game of Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's not for the faint-hearted whatsoever. It's a proper simulator where you have to really define your setups, and when you do have something right in the setup, you will have a knock-on effect with the others, and it's something to really rustle your brain about here. But somebody whose brain has not really been rustled too much over the course of these last 40 minutes has been Sheldon Muscat. He's been able to simply take the lead with a great move there on De Battista in toward Brooklyn, and leads now by 2.2. This time he has got full control over what Manduka do as he heads his way through the right-hander, the 94 ahead of the 93. And there is Angelo Agius now, very much on the back here of Denzel Agius in the McLaren. Will the Ford be able to go for it? Getting covered off there, hard on the brakes. He's going to try and just switch it in, but he's getting blocked by the McLaren down in towards Club Corner. Will he try and go on the aggressive? You see the gap there. You go for the gap, but decides to just brake a little bit early, save that Ford from getting a penalty slapped on it, and we'll head our way through that beautiful right hand, brilliant grandstand there. The club grandstand. If you haven't sat in that grandstand, please do so. It is absolutely amazing. The best views you get from the entry all the way from the entry into Stoke Corner all the way to the exit of Abbey Corner. It's some brilliant views, but at this moment in time, that Ford is very much galloping towards that 4th place, and that'll be brilliant for the American car.
Yeah, so looking for it, 0.6 of a second down. That is the lapped traffic car in front of Gat that they will have to get through, and Gat is going to be that driver that you sit down and say, right, that's the one pick that I need, try and make this move, really trying to throw the Mustang into those corners. And you'd think with a name like Mustang that it's built for the high speed, it's built for getting up there in the top cadences. It's looked a little bit better through the corners, if anything, compared to the McLaren, so it's definitely got a little bit of turn to it out there at this point, running through onto their 21st lap of this race. And now you're really looking at what Angelo Agius is trying to find. Left or right, blue flags waving, worst place in the world to catch the traffic, and over the grass and straight on, trying to dive on through. This is perfect for Angelo Agius. He now just has to pick up the run going through the right and get the drive along hanger and get this sorted. Moves immediately over to the right hand side, can't quite get the clearance as the lane is there. Perfect for Denzel Agius, who will now have to defend against Angelo, trying around that outside. Later on the brakes goes McLaren and just blocks the lane. Brilliant stuff.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing there. The Ford will look at the inside, but oh, that's so difficult, especially with the McLaren right in the middle of the road. That's what we like to call lazy defending, just sitting your car in the middle of the circuit. They can't go left, they can't go right. Well, they can go left, but they'll just slam straight into you. If they go right, then they would just have to go all the way around the outside, and then they're still just hounding that McLaren. That would have been a bold move, but the Agius is keeping it really, really nice and contempt. Really good gentleman's driving. They're being aggressive, but it's a nice aggressive. They're not being over the top. They're not throwing the car into any difficult places. Angelo Agius is just keeping it nice and predictable. And that's really what you got to do in these overtaking opportunities. Again, throwing it to the inside, just trying to find that switch back here in toward left field. I wonder if he would have taken that maybe a little bit more shallower. Could he have potentially got a run on that McLaren? But I think with the horses of the Ford, he'll just gain onto the back, but not quite through in towards tops. It'll be a little bit too risky, especially with 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go.
Well, I have 2 laps to figure this out, because there is your leader, Sheldon Muscat, and it's a complete reversal from what he had to deal with 1 week ago, where he had to deal with tyres that did not want to play ball at all. You can see how much he's up there on the high res as he looks to shift down, using as much engine braking as he possibly can to get the car slowed even further. Running through now in the middle sector of the lap, through Club Corner now and onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight, and Angelo Agius stuck on the outside again, hoping for a way through. Then at Stowe Corner once more, finding at that much larger profile isn't there. Now Denzel Agius there, throws the big lunge down the inside, but has he gone too deep into the corner? Yes, he has, and back through goes Denzel Agius, who knew exactly how late he could brake, and Angelo didn't.
Oh, that was really a throw off the seat kind of overtake there. He had the big confidence to chuck it up the inside, but forgot to put it on the brake on the marks, and unfortunately just looks like it's got away from him. He'll have another lap to try and get that move settled. They have to cross the line within the next 50 seconds. I'm sure they'll be able to do that with ease. But of course, Muscat now about to head on to his last lap. But let's just continue with McLaren versus Ford, Britain versus America, the middle engine versus the front engine. The beautiful McLaren, of course, known for how nimble it can be, followed by the Ford, the heavy horses on that car. The 89 with the followed by the 52, 4th and 5th, but they continue to fight their way through that final corner. But for Sheldon Muscat, it has been a star performance, and he has learned from the mistakes in Zolder last time around, and he now finds a way to defeat the Ferrari. He has just got only a couple more miles to keep it on the racing surface to be able to take a win and a big 30 points. The clock ticks down to 0, and that 94 is on his way to victory as he heads his way through that club chicane, and he's only got another half the circuit to go.
Well, this has been quite simply put. How do you need to respond after what happened at Zolder? Sheldon Muscat had a lot of confidence to take away after what was a strong showing by him initially, which then led to a little bit of trouble later on in the race when the tyre strategy didn't quite play out. But here around Silverstone, which is a little bit more of a power circuit, which maybe suits the Bentley a little bit more, he's been able to stand on top. Take nothing away from Adrian Manduca's effort here today. He certainly proved he had pace, and early on so too did Aaron De Battista. But now heading into the final section of this circuit, past the BRDC stand, there on the right-hand side through Brooklands, now heading through Luffield for what will be one final time. Sheldon Muscat, have your parity restored again with the mountain on the horizon in 7 days. A simply put, perfect performance with one small slide. Sheldon Muscat wins at Silverstone with Manduca in second, and Aaron De Battista is going to be the one who will round out that podium to score some crucial points.
Oh, absolutely amazing there. Manduca finishing home in second. Will he be disappointed? I don't think so, but it will be a little bit frustrating letting a fellow championship contender take a win here. De Battista third. He'll pick up his second third place in a row, and the McLaren just beating out the Ford in the arduous battle. Carapol recovers to 6th in that number 13 Ferrari. Of course, that number 13 hasn't been the luckiest car in the last 2 races, but he has put on a big old fight back, and a beautiful sight there. Muscat and Manduca side by side down the hangar straight. It's a brilliant sight to see. I think that will be one for the photographers to take a picture of. Big old slides there from Muscat. He is super happy with what he's done. And Jake, yet another brilliant race here at the home of British Motorsport.
Well, it's one that was thoroughly deserved there by Sheldon Muscat. He proved that despite having the one mistake that he had just before the pit stop, he was always going to rally back and try and go for it. And those few laps where he had that at 0.6 of a second, 0.7 of a second all the time with Adrian Manduca, it would only be a matter of time before that would break, and ultimately that's what he gets. He'll get some big points, and he will now start trying to chase on down, knowing that 7 days from now, Adam, we are back at the mountain. Mount Panorama will be the next port of call, which will feel very similar. And this is what's going to be really interesting. You can argue it's power circuit here, rounds 3 and 4. Kyalami you can call a hybrid, but then when you've got Suzuka, Indianapolis, and Imola, those are more what I would call, I would say more in the wheelhouse of Adrian Manduca heading towards the end. Certainly a little bit more technical and twisty.
Absolutely. Of course, every circuit has its characteristics, and these GT3 cars are just going to be so interesting to watch. Of course, we've seen that the Bentley has some great straight line speed. Of course, we saw the Ferrari and the McLaren, so really good in the corners. It's so tough to separate those McLarens and that Ferrari. So when we had Manduca stuck behind De Battista, that would have been a bit of an annoyance to him, and of course didn't able to get past. He had to go through on the strategy, and that this is also going to make Manduka think, especially in terms of the championship on the line here. Yes, we've got 6 rounds to go, but of course he's a very big title contender after 2 rounds. He is now going to have to try and just sit down and think, how can I get past not just 1 but 2 cars, because of course at this moment in time with De Baptista 2 third place in a row, he's being a little bit of a hold up for Manduka, who of course qualified on the 2nd row, and of course will now be hoping to try and get a bit more out of qualifying. There's so many dynamics where this can go in going into the 3rd round of the championship.
Yep, and you can only catch that with us here, of course, on Velocity Esports Racing here. This is your ACER Malta GT3 Championship, brought to you with Gaming Malta in association with Hyundai, Intercomp, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and with JACAP. From Adam Reed and myself, Jake Sperry, that is how you bounce back. You look at what Sheldon Muscat is trying to do. He is looking for maximum points that he can, and he was really pushing to try and get up to the highest level possible. He managed that today, and he will put himself back level with Adrian Manduka, who threw what he could, but with a car that maybe doesn't quite work as well at Silverstone, well, that's just going to be the lumps and bumps. It might be more of the same over the next couple of rounds, but this is what happens when you've got a championship with no balance of performance. Some tracks will suit, some tracks will not. We will see you in 7 days, because it will be Mount Panorama. They will be climbing the mountain, and they will be mountain men.